Time now for the Educated Retirement Show with your host, Jay Kaplan. Jay discusses reverse mortgages and can answer your questions at 951-922-3532. Call lines are open at 951-922-3532. And now here's Jay.
Yeah, I do like that music. And Sean, thank you for that. And like Sean just said, you can ask me questions, but there's something you got to do first. You got to call in. So 951-922-3532. We're going to have a really great guest later. Dr. Ponder is going to give us, he's going to talk about financial literacy and a whole lot more strategic-wise or strategy-wise when it comes to keeping ourselves together right now in a lot of different ways. So welcome to the Educated Retirement Radio here on KMET, where we contemplate retirement and how to best prepare for that retirement. So let's, again, always be thankful. Let me turn on my monitor here. I mean, we do want to see me eventually. For all the friends that we do have, and that we're talking to them now with more on Zoom, Google Hangouts, which I use a lot, and, Skype, which we're doing right now. And, for years, we have had the ability to talk to each other and look at each other with the technology on our least expensive phones pretty much, but we have not done it much. And, you hear about, what's the new normal going to be when we get out of this? Well, I hope some of that is the new normal. I hope we start doing more face-to-face even when we're not next to each other. So keep calling people, let you know. You can call people you don't know for all I care. Who knows? They might need you to call right now. But we need that to keep sane. So you oughta definitely call me, email me, or visit drheckham.com. That's drhecm.com. And just in case, there you go. I think you can see it. There you go. Oh, there. Anyway, or there's also the educatedretirementradio.com, or if best, just email me. bestloantoday@gmail.com. bestloantoday@gmail. And be sure to jump over to the YouTube channel. Link about halfway down the first page you come to on the website. And there's all kinds of shows in there, separate segments of just the guests themselves, if you only want to hear that part. And shame on you. Just my part by itself, if you've got nothing better to do, or just want to get into some of the historical things we talk about. If you want to get a hold of anybody, all the information is there on those things. So when it comes to the Heckham, or if you want to still call it a reverse, know the facts, compare the numbers. It's much too important an issue to ignore, and you certainly don't want to eliminate it based on not fully understanding it. And if there's ever been a time to really understand it and take that time, it's now. Before that, it was 2008, and now it's now. So once again, call me, 866-955-2233, or just email me at bestloantoday@gmail.com. So hang on. Today we're going to visit with aliens as Lonnie Zamora introduces us to his friends. And then we're going to meet with Methuselah and William Castle on the set of Lady from Shanghai. My day job is at the Loan Source, loan officer. Anyway, my NMLS number is 384565. My Department of Real Estate in the state of California, 972-630. I want and I absolutely need your questions. And remember, we believe in challenging the status quo. And our families and all of us need to be active, not reactive. I guess that would be proactive. So today, in 1964, the very famous Lonnie Zamora UFO incident took place. And here to give us a report once again is NASA NASA Nellie.
Nellie from NASA here. The Lonnie Zamora UFO incident. On April 24th, 1964 at 5:50 p.m., Lonnie Zamora, a police officer from Socorro, New Mexico, chased a speeding car when he heard an extremely loud roar and saw a bluish-reddish flame in the sky. Some distance away. He went to investigate and was about to have a close encounter of the third kind. He said there was a shiny object the size of a large car about 3 feet off the ground. Looked like an oval made of aluminum. No windows, no doors. He noted red lettering, an insignia in the middle of the object, as well as 2 people dressed in white, about the size of small adults, standing on the outside of this UFO. He got out of his car, glanced at the object, heard loud thumps like the shutting of doors when the 2 persons disappeared. The aluminum oval seemed to lift up slowly into the distance, and then it vanished over the mountain. No smoke, no noise, leaving scorched landscape behind. A few tourists had witnessed the object as well. This case has been widely investigated by researchers over the years.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Nellie. Oh, sorry for the clicks. I was clicking back and forth on the microphone for back to me. So that is that is a real famous case. And in fact, today we watched, we're running around, one of the episodes from UFO Hunters, and they were talking about that. But in any case, what is today? Today is National Arbor Day, and that's Plant a Tree Day. So trees do communicate and defend among themselves. And this is fact, as you know, as you probably learned from the 2 towers. So the phrase, knock on wood, comes from, and we've all heard that, never knew where it came from, goes back to pagan times. And these people would knock on trees to summon positive spirits. Let me see, is that going to work? It's kind of like wood. The oldest tree in California is called Methuselah. You thought that was me I was going to talk about. No, that is a pine tree. And of course, my first thought was it had to be one of the giant redwoods. No, it's a pine tree over 4,800 years old in the White Mountains in Inyo County. And with that county, let's go take a break, and don't go nowhere. Thanks. Now, doesn't that music make you think of a smoke-filled room? I remember here in Orange County years and years ago, we used to have a place called the Studio Cafe right at the Balboa Pier, and there'd be saxophones and other things playing. It was only jazz. The fog would be, in the wintertime, would be rolling through the doors. And of course, it'd be smoke-filled because of not only the fog, but because of all the cigarettes. But anyway, welcome back to the Educated Retirement Radio here on your home planet, 1490 KMET. The Mighty Met, and www.drheckham.com. That's drhecm.com. Call me 866-955, and let me make sure it shows 2233. And why do you want to call? Because you need to know more about the choices you really have and how to protect what you already have. I have a team of experts that can and will help you, at least give you advice so you can make up your own mind. Make use of all of us. Call me and I can direct you to anyone who you hear on this show and other shows here, and others in the team that want to be on your team. So whose birthday is it today? It's William Castle's, and maybe you remember we talked about William the other day, but William Castle was born William Schloss Jr., and Schloss sounds a lot like schlock, and he was certainly the king of schlock. Schloss, I guess I'm told anyway here, is German for castle, so he changed his name to Castle. He was orphaned at 11 years old, and at age 15, while watching the live play Dracula, he got acquainted, I guess that was in New York, he got acquainted with Bella, who recommended he become the stage manager for the road company. Talk about luck. At age 23, he moved to Hollywood and became a dialogue director. And I guess in those days you could go to Hollywood and get in the movie industry just by, applying for lots of jobs. But in any case, he began his directing career with very low budget films, starting with 4 episodes of the Whistler film series. He somehow became associated and an associate producer for Orson Welles' Lady from Shanghai. And speaking of Mr. Castle, we saw probably his best, well, maybe not his best known, but certainly a very well-known film that he produced here a little bit earlier, was on TV as I was walking back and forth, Rosemary's Baby. But anyway, he persuaded, now listen to this stuff. This guy's got it. He persuaded Orson Welles to leave him a theater, access to a theater, so to leave him the Stony Creek Theater lease to him, to give him the lease that Orson Welles had. Welles was leaving to film Citizen Kane at the time. And as the king of publicity, listen to this story. I mean, he, meaning William Castle, hired a German actress for a non-existent play called Not for Children. At that point, it was not for anyone, didn't exist. Anyway, he spent a weekend writing the play and having it translated into German. Then he told the newspapers that she had turned down the invitation from the Nazis to be in that play in Germany, which never existed anyway. And Castle, in turn, told the newspapers that she was the girl who said no to Hitler. So he had this new play that he wrote in a weekend, starring the girl who said no to Hitler. And he also broke into this place that he had leased, the theater, before opening, and painted swastikas around. All of this helped so much. The play was a great success after such a string of publicity stunts. Also at the time, a theater guild regulation prohibited a lot of foreign, let's say in this case, a German actor was not supposed to be on an American stage unless he or she had been in the same play in Germany first. And of course, this solved that problem too, since none of it really happened. But he got her on there, and he did really well. His first feature film was Macabre. All the patrons got a certificate for $1,000 of life insurance in case they died of fright during the film. He stationed a nurse in the lobby and hearses in front of the theaters. Hold on a sec. Sorry about that. I don't know to what degree this can be seen, but because my video monitor is delayed a bit, but we'll do the best we can. This, of course, can be seen, and this is newspaper advertising exactly for this that happened. And, you got to admit, it's pretty cool. So we spoke about Castle a couple of weeks ago, like I said, and we referenced the Joe Dante film Matinee that really recalled the life of William Castle, framed with the horror of the Cuban Missile Crisis, which I definitely remember as a kid. John Goodman was the quintessential, or a really wonderful, William Castle. And I knew I had it here somewhere. I showed this the other day. This has Joe Dante's signature on it. This is Matinee, and what an amazing, like I said before too, still an extremely, extremely entertaining film. So, of his other films, there was, he had things like Buzzers Up Under the Seats, which he did in The Tingler. Oh, guess what? The Tingler. A Floating Skeleton Over the Crowd in House on Haunted Hill. This is not the original House on Haunted Hill, but I didn't think it was too bad either. And he had such a thing called Coward's Corner, which was a yellow line that people, that were scared had to go behind and get yelled at by the rest of the audience. So it was definitely audience participation. It's told that John Waters really, really loved the Coward's Corner and also learned a great deal from William Castle. And by the way, speaking of John Waters, which I know we weren't, I still have a scratch and sniff card that came with pink flamingos. Waters had those scratch and sniff cards given to people watching the film, and there'd be signals on the screen. I think it was color coded as to which area to scratch and sniff. So in Matinee, Goodman told the youngsters that were part of the film, big part of the film, that they, young people, were no more advanced as kids than grown-ups. He said, we too, meaning grown-ups, make things up as we go. And we will best survive only if we do not close our eyes, which he meant not close your eyes in the horror parts of the movie, the scary parts of a horror movie. Definitely words to live by. So I think there's a really good documentary out there made by one of his daughters, so you might want to give a look for it. And you also want to give a look back for this radio program in just a few minutes. Take care and don't go away. How nice. Welcome back to the Educated Retirement Radio here on your favorite station. And today also continuing with another birthday, Richard Donner came into this world in 1930. And as you may recall, he was the director of the movies, or Superman. I guess they called it Superman the Movie. So, and it is the first modern superhero film. So just to go pretty quick here, I think we all know what that kind of stuff looks like. I think you remember what he looks like, but this is really a cool book. I got this from my son, Shane, and I don't know how much of that we can see, but remember that building? That was in Metropolis, and a lot of that was brought in for Supermensch. Here's the Supermensch, and on. But Richard Donner himself also did The Omen, Lost Boys, The Goonies. My wife loves that movie, and it seems like it's on television about every other day. It was the first film for Josh Brolin and Sean Astin. Tons of television work he did, including two of the very favorite Twilight Zones out there, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, which is possibly the most famous Twilight Zone episode with William Shatner, and Agnes with Love, depicting a love affair between a computer and Wally Cox, not Marlon Brando, as we mentioned. Kind of kind of brought to mind the wonderful masterpiece Kronos, where the guy was almost in love with his computer named Susie. Other people born on this day, and I don't want to take too much more time, with Shirley MacLaine and Barbara Streisand, who was Josh Brolin's stepmama. Also, there's another stuff. He did some X-Men stuff also. Now, also, whose birthday is it today? Michael Parks. So I don't know to what degree. We were looking for, right, Kathleen? He played what instrument? Guitar and sang too? So be it. I couldn't find it. My wife tells me I have an album. Who knows? I probably do. But, you know, he was in a film a couple of years ago that almost nobody except me really liked, that I know of. Although a lot of people do like Kevin Smith. This was a Kevin Smith film called Tusk. It also had an uncredited Johnny Depp in it. And I'm going to say go get it. It takes a little bit of a stronger stomach in some cases, but it's kind of funny also, and highly recommended. It's also highly recommended that you stick with us. We're going to take a short break so we can come back and spend a long time with Dr. Craig Ponder about finance, about the special situation right now, and the kinds of strategies that will work best. So please stick with us and take care of yourself. It'll just be a short wait. All right. Welcome. Thank you for sticking with us. Welcome back to The Educated Retirement. And here we are going to talk with a very special guest, who is, as we call repeat people, or repeat offenders, Dr. Craig Ponder. And I said quite a bit about him earlier. I really can't say enough about this man and the good work he and his family of people do for others in the world of financial literacy, and well beyond that. I mean, well beyond that. So I will let the good doctor take it away and talk, give a good introduction to himself, and we'll go from there.
Well, good. Well, good day to you folks. I pray that all of you are well and healthy. And I heard something today, and let me see if I can repeat it. It was by Shakespeare. They said, there's a sweet spot in the midst of crisis. In other words, when you understand that the greatest time to get ahead, the greatest time to move forward is in the midst of crisis. It's God created us to be able to rebound, and created us to be able to take advantage of opportunity. And so my name Ponder means to strategically make you think on purpose until you change. Name is Dr. Craig Ponder Sr. I work with my sons, Dr. Craig Jr. and Matthew Ponder, and my staff and I. And I am a financial educator. I am a financial advocate, and I am a fiduciary. And let me just quickly, I've been doing this for 27 years, Jay. I have 2 doctorate degrees, one's a PhD. I've got over 10 professional designations. But let me tell you the one thing that makes me better is I love people. I want to help people. And that advocate, being an advocate, my mom raised me to tell the truth, do what's right for other people. And right now, in the midst of the COVID pandemic economic crisis, I want to inform your listeners, this is not the end, but the beginning of a crisis, a crash, a tidal wave, a tsunami, Great Depression, Great Recession. But guess what? Right in the midst of this, if you have retirement money, if you have 401k money, you have the power to take control of it and get it out of the market. I have books called Stop Losing Money, Jay. I wrote that book. And I have a chapter in the book called How to Beat the Stock Market. And I'll stop here. What's interesting? I never released the chapter. And then the other day I went in my archive. I got it out, and I'm like, oh wow, this is
Yeah.
full circle. I can now release that chapter or that book. And here's what I want to say: there are three types of retirement accounts. There are retirement accounts. Real quick, there are employer sponsored. You don't own that account. Brokerage account. You don't own that account. And then there are individual. The only accounts at Ponder Financial that we make available to the general public are accounts that you own and that you control. And that's what you need to do right now, is get your money out of the stock market. And we can tell you as we go through how to do that and what would be the benefit of doing that.
Right. Yeah, everybody needs to have a professional to speak with. We may all be very smart, maybe not, but let's give us the benefit of the doubt. We can all be very smart, and especially in the things we do, but not with what other people do every day. And those are the people like yourself, when it comes to these decisions, you've got to have a conversation, build a rapport, and partner with.
Yes, with a knowledgeable professional. Our firm is a Ed Slott elite advisor. And so if you Google the name Ed Slott,
I've heard of him.
You will find out he is America's Wall Street Journal, USA Today, said the best IRA source in America. When the government has a problem, they go to him. Quickly, I want to share with you that Ed Slott, by working with him and being educated by him, he teaches people how to take control of their IRA and what they need to do. And so the Secure Act, here's another thing, listeners, write down Secure Act. It was signed into law by President Trump, actually on my birthday and anniversary, December 20th of 19, but went into law, was implemented January 1st of this year. Well, guess what? Nobody even knows about that because the pandemic is overshadowing it. But here are some numbers I want your listeners to write down. They're large numbers. They're almost shocking, but I want you to understand that there is currently $30 trillion in the retirement market. 30 trillion with a T.
Wow.
$20 trillion out of the 30 trillion are retirement accounts like IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, 457. We call it tax deferred qualified plans. Now, I hope you have your seatbelt strapped in. Out of that $20 trillion that's controlled by your employer, controlled by your broker, only 258 billion with the B is owned individually by consumers.
Well, that's a big difference, isn't it?
So look, they're controlling it for fees, for management. They're controlling it. So right now, for time's sake, I've spoken with multiple people. They have lost, one 74-year-old client lost $27,000. One 56-year-old client lost $40,000. Another client lost $24,000, and someone lost 40%. See, that 20 trillion is directly in the market under their control. The 258 billion probably suffered none of our clients lost any money.
Wow.
Because there's a way to invest in the stock market, keep the fixed amount principal balance out of the market, and only index the market for participation. So as it goes up, we capture the upside. But when it's down, we're not participating.
Wow.
But guess what? If someone collects a money management fee,
that's
they're
always,
in the managed account, so it's good for them, horrible for you. So I'll just ask a quick question to Jay. He's the smartest person that know. And would you take, Jay, $100,000, Mr. Kaplan, right now? And I might ask your wife this question, but would you take $100,000 right now and put it in the stock market?
No.
I would not either. I wouldn't have done it before the pandemic. So why isn't the CPA, why isn't the financial advisor, why isn't the banker calling their clients as a fiduciary for FINRA and saying, look, we've had a good run, we've got some problems, let's get it out, and because they'll lose all their money under management, and that's how they feed their family, and that's what they're obligated to do for the broker-dealer.
Right. Now, these people that work for these different entities, they're paid normally, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it's obviously not my my expertise. But they're paid on, like you said, a management fee, which means they're paid by the amount of money that's in there.
Oh, absolutely.
Good or bad.
Absolutely.
So, and then in a lot of these, if people want to sell and get out, these people also make money off just the sale of the equities or bonds.
Yeah.
Whether it's good for the client or not, right?
I'm going to say this here. I think I have the right to say it. I've been an entrepreneur for over 44 years. All the wealth that I've created has come by my own revelation, wisdom, and knowledge of helping people. All right?
Right.
And I have never believed that your retirement money should never be directly invested in the stock market. I've never believed that. It's an argument. It's a two-sided coin. It didn't used to be that way.
Right,
okay? And let me tell you why. What does COVID-19, what does a terrorist attack or a CEO going to Vegas and partying with a stripper when company stock goes down? This happened.
Yes.
What does any of that have to do with me doing what I was told to do? Go to work, get a job, fund your retirement, match my funds, and then I'm trying to get to the future to retire. What does that have to? Nothing. But the system, see, the rules of money have changed. And most Americans have been, it's like having their head buried in the sand. They have been working for 30 years under the old rules. They've changed them all. So when you lift your head up out of the sand, it's like, oh, I want to retire. Now think about this, Mr. Kaplan. Think about people that could have retired January 1st, 2nd, January, February, March, said, I'll go through June. I'll get past Christmas. And now losing 23 to 40% of their account balance, probably can't retire.
Horrible. Yeah, no, correct.
Do you realize?
That's quite a shock. You know, and
do you realize when a client, like the client that lost $27,000, I told her, do you realize you need to earn 100% return to break even? Do the math. 10% a year return times 10 years is 100, right?
Mm-hmm.
It typically takes an individual who has lost money in the market, on average, 8 years to break even.
Mm-hmm.
And if we have another crash comes or a correction or think about it, there are 22 million people that are unemployed. Do you think they're going to be out shopping and being consumers?
No.
Do you think they're going to be out buying homes? So let me tell your listeners something that they need to understand. In every crisis or crash, there's one thing among the several things that happen immediately. The lending laws or rules will get stricter and harder, so it'll be harder for people to go out and qualify to refi.
That has definitely already happened.
So guess what? I'm very passionate about this, but there's two places that the majority of Americans have their money. Write it down, folks. Number one, they have the money stuck inside of their 401k. When I say stuck, they can't get it out without rules and restrictions and penalties and fees and taxes, right?
Taxes, yeah, for sure.
But guess what? The other more wealth is trapped inside the equity in the brick and mortars in their house.
Right.
So if you have a home that's paid off free and clear, or you've got a considerable amount of equity, and the lending laws change, or you don't have a job, or you're furloughed or laid off, how do you qualify to get the money out? You can't.
No, unless, of course, I do reverse mortgages,
yes,
but
sir.
I don't want to get into this part. This is about you.
Yeah.
And, but you know that it is possible in many cases to be able to get some of that money out. I mean, I feel it's like somebody told me, I mean, if you've got your house paid off, that's a whole lot of money that you've got buried in a coffee can in your backyard, and that's about it.
Well, see, you are a reverse mortgage expert. In your market and industry, you're able to do an amazing thing and help people because it's a reverse mortgage. And they must be over age 62. And normally, I agree with you, under those circumstances, that's a great thing for us to do, whether we're in a pandemic or not. What I was referring to was the forward mortgage.
Yep.
Someone that owns their home free and clear, or owns their home with a little bit of equity, they won't even be able to get the money out because it's trapped. So what would they be forced to do? They'll be forced to sell in a good or bad economy, a bad one. So now they're getting undervalued, or they'll do credit card debt. You see what's happening?
Yeah.
So let me say this. We have a strategy for the listeners. Under the on March 27th, 2020, President Trump signed into law the CARES Act, which temporarily loosened the rules on IRAs and 401ks. And you know what? It's called the coronavirus related distribution. If I have just a few moments, can I explain that?
Because I don't think anybody, well, I shouldn't say anybody, but there's very, very limited understanding out there about that.
Yeah, well, guess what? Like I said, before I had degrees and before I had doctorate degrees and designations, I wasn't really much, okay? And, when you're competing against someone with all the knowledge and power in the world, my mama taught me something, and she said, son, there's only one of you. If you learn to go out and be the best you that you can be, you'll never have any competition. So when I entered this industry 27 years ago, I knew they were smarter and brighter than me, so I did more research. I drove further than them, so I became an infopreneur. And I would spend up to 3 hours a day researching. So guess what? I'm still doing it, and I'm doing it more so now. So I have quickly educated myself, went to my expert colleagues. Ed Slott is one of them. And guess what? We have been able to interpret the legislation and take it into layman's terminology. We have a website called protectyourIRAnow.com. Again, they can go to protectyourIRAnow.com. And let me just quickly explain. I'm just going to give you what we call the sizzle. Under the CARES Act.
Before you get too far, because I might forget.
Yes.
Please, and as soon as you're done with this part, make sure everybody watching or listening knows how to get a hold of you.
Yes. Thank you. All right. Our office number is 1-800-908-7065. Again, they can reach out to us at 1-800-908-7065, or they can go to our website, protectyourIRAnow.com. Okay. Now, under the CARES Act that was signed into law March 27th, 2020, listen to my words. It temporarily loosened the rules on IRAs and 401ks. This is a legal IRS loophole that gives Americans the opportunity to take out up to $100,000 per spouse from an IRA or from a 401k. Okay. Now, for those that are employed, or those of you that have left or have a 401k, let me say this. If you have separated from services, whether by a layoff or you quit your job or you retired, listen to me. I wish I could yell at you. Get your money away from your employer. Do not leave it there. Call us up. IRS allows you to do what's called a direct rollover. No taxes, no penalties, no fees. Get it away from your employer into your own account. We can talk to you about that. But for those of you that have a 401k, typically, Mr. Kaplan, you're allowed to borrow up to $50,000 as a loan at your job. All right? Here are the normal rules. You can borrow up to $50,000. They force the repayment back out of your pocket every pay period. To borrow $50,000 costs you about $850 a month. So you have to realize if a person needs $50, how do they pay back $800 a month? It's very difficult. All right. Now, there are certain financial hardships that allow you to take the money from your employer. I won't go into all of them now, but it's, health issues, $10,000 for a first-time home purchase, but you could take out up to $50,000 for a hardship. Listen to the rules. If you're under the age of 59 and a half, there's a 10% penalty. They keep back 20% in taxes. So do the math. If you're trying to turn around and pull out 50 under a hardship, and they got to turn around and keep 15,000, now you only have 35,000. Are you with me? So under the CARES Act, under the temporary rules, folks, listen to what I'm sharing with you today. It's hot off the press. The lending rule went from 50,000 to 100,000. It's temporary. If you're under the age of 59 and a half, guess what? The 10% penalty is waived. All right. You don't have to pay the loan back right away. They have 12 months of the repayment of payments are waived for 12 months. Okay. I'm going to take it a step further. If you'd like to keep the money after 12 months, Now you have a tax liability or obligation, correct? Now listen to this, Mr. Kaplan. All the tax liability are waived, or not waived, excuse me, they are spread out evenly over 3 years.
Big difference.
Now I'm going to give you something that I hope the listeners are ready for. The same rules apply to IRAs, but a little bit better. IRA stands for Individual Retirement Account. Let me explain something, Mr. Kaplan. IRAs do not have loan provisions. They don't have it. But right now, under the loosened legislation, under temporary laws, you can now have a loan provision that the government signed into law. President did. God bless him. I don't care if you care about his politics. He realized the American people need help. And if you are a responsible American that had a job, if you are a responsible American that did what you should do and funded retirement, he said, let's give them access to it without slapping them on the wrist. So guess what? You now have an IRA that each spouse can leverage up to $100,000.
Wow.
You can pay it back, and the loan repayments are waived for 12 months, but we're not suggesting or advising people to pay it back. Let me tell you why. Because when you take out the $100,000, you can spread out the taxes evenly over 3 years. So do we think the stock market's going to fully recover in a year or 2 years or 3 years, 5 years? Maybe, maybe not. But the problem is not the stock market, Mr. Kaplan, it's also taxes. So you and I have had conversations. If we know that taxes will probably be higher in the future, or Congress will take tax breaks from us, we're still going to have to deal with the taxes. So we're teaching people how to take out $100,000 per spouse, keep $15,000 to $25,000 for an emergency fund, and then we will take $75,000 to $85,000, whatever number you want to work with, and we park it in what we call a private retirement indexed account. It's safe, provides a predictable rate of return, no stock market risk, but you have the ability to earn a decent and predictable rate of return. And now it's no longer a tax deferred account. So if you need to get in there a year from now or 5 years from now, we now have taken control of at least some of your money. So God forbid, if other things occur because of this, you will not be in the same position.
Absolutely. Wow.
So again, my question is, why hasn't the CPA who advised you to defer, why hasn't the advisor who advised you to put it in the market, why have they not called you? They're too busy. The CPA is too busy doing taxes. The advisor is already losing money because you're losing money. And why would they work for free to teach you how to get the money away from them and put it in a better or safer place?
Right.
And that's where Ponder Financial comes in, because you know what? This is a good slogan. We work for the people.
I know several of your clients, and they all think you are.
Yes.
They don't think, they know that you are absolutely the fiduciary, which is a missing word in most people. All of us in my profession are supposed to be fiduciaries. And you know as well as I do, not everyone is.
Yes.
But I know you have the reputation, and I know it personally by knowing a lot of your clients, that you are, well, there's no beating around the bush. You're the best, right?
Oh, thank you. I think I'm going to give me a tattoo. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kaplan. If I get a tattoo, what should it say? I'm the best. now, my wife might disagree with it, but she might say I'm the best of the best. Huh?
Yeah.
Now, one important thing I forgot to mention, I did not mention that this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Right. I have checked with financial experts that are smarter than me, have done this longer than me, that I respect and I work with, and they said never ever in the history of the financial world has this ever happened before, where they've given this temporary legislation to help the people. This is a worldwide crisis, and it just proves that we live in an amazing country that has the power to do what's right for everyone. And like you just said, Mr. Kaplan, unfortunately, we haven't had the advisors who are FINRA fiduciaries do the right thing for their client. We have a mutual client that you work with out of Los Angeles. I'll share a quick funny story. We're helping them make some adjustments and rearrange some investments right now. And I sent some paperwork to her and did a call with her the other day. And she was sending the check and the paperwork back yesterday. And I forgot to email her our numbers of how we arrived at the numbers. And her son called my office and said, wait a minute, what are we doing? And I quickly laughed because I didn't realize he doesn't see what I showed her. And that's what a good son or a good advisor would do. So when I got on the phone and we did a webinar, and I said, I laughed because I said, how would your mom commit to that monetary amount without you knowing what the numbers are? And here's a comment I made. I said, your mama loves me, but she don't love me that much, right? And this is what the son said. Dr. Ponder, that's not true. She loves you so much. She said, I'm going to send the money, the check, and the paperwork, and Dr. Ponder can explain it to you later. And you know what I loved about the son? He said, Dr. Ponder, it didn't make sense to me. And I said, you did what you were supposed to do because the numbers didn't make sense. And audience, listen to me. Financial people, it doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter what anyone says to you. The numbers will either the truth, because numbers won't lie, right?
Right.
And let me say something, because you have been programmed wired to succeed, but the industry has programmed you to fail. Watch this. Normally when you want to try to earn a higher rate of return, you've been taught that you must assume greater risk. That's not true in the retirement industry, but it's true in investment industry, okay? So watch this. There are three types of places where you would allocate your money: a fixed account, variable account, and indexed account. A fixed account would be the banks. Right now, if you go to your checking or bank account, Mr. Kaplan, which you probably have, is that if you check all interest rates, Federal Reserve has already knocked them down to zero, okay?
Right.
And the stock market has never been the safest place to put your money. So what people don't realize is an advisor, a money manager will say, it'll come back. It never will come back. Because if you have 100,000 and you lose, let's just say 30%, that's $70,000 left, right?
Right.
You've lost the power to compound on the 30%.
Right.
So
exactly.
Let me do quick math. If you lost $30,000, right?
Yep.
And you had just a 6% return every year, which is a decent return. That's $1,800 a year that you're losing on the 30,000. If it took you 5 years to break even, that's $9,000 you lost plus the 30. So you didn't lose 30, you lost about $40,000 from that loss.
Right, and those dollars are gone.
So never let somebody tell you on your retirement money, it'll come back. So here's what I like to say: stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
Stop the bleeding. And how do you stop it? There's something called, we talked about this.
We have 1 minute left, just to let you know.
Okay. So again, you can go to protectyourira.now.com, protectyourira.now.com, and we can teach you how to self-direct your IRA, take advantage of the coronavirus that was signed into law, the CARES Act, where you can leverage up to $100,000 per spouse right now.
I think I'm going to call that son, if it's the one I think of tomorrow, and say hello. He's a great guy. I really was impressed with him.
Yes.
But I think we should all be impressed with you and your information.
Thank you.
The one thing that's missing is education.
There you go.
I mean, money comes and goes, but education only comes when it comes. And it's so important to hear from you. And before we get closed off here, give your contact information one more quick time before we sign off.
Yep, Dr. Craig Ponder Sr., Ponder Financial, 1-800-908-7065. You can go to our website, protectyourira.now.com. You can also go to ponderfinancialfirm.com as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right.
I can't wait to have you back again.
All right, anytime.
And well, believe me, I'll take you up on that. And I think all of our people will too. Thanks so much, Sean. Thanks so much, everybody listening. Have a great and safe weekend.
Absolutely. You too. God bless you.
You've been listening to the Educated Retirement Show with Jay Kaplan. Tune in every Friday at 3 p.m. to learn more about your mortgage and reverse mortgages. And don't forget, each show is also podcasted on the KMET website, KMET1490am.com. Thanks for listening.